The noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, let's make us some donuts. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday, everybody. It'll be the Ute Preview Show coming up at 1 o'clock. Hans, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, Scotty. I'm in a very good spot, very safe spot, and a spot that might be very familiar to you. I am currently broadcasting from Jerome, Idaho, and I could not be more excited to be here.
There's nothing safe about Jerome.
Do you know the Flying J just off the Jerome exit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
right
doing
in that area.
Wait a minute, you're doing the show at a Flying J?
You're darn right I am.
Oh, I
because,
love it, man.
You know what? We do what we got to do to bring sports to the great people of Utah.
I love it, man. I love it. Dude, go get yourself some chicken fingers, a little sweet and sour sauce.
Oh, it's got the full spread. They've got 5 built-out pizzas that are cooked and ready to serve up a slice. They've got all the fried food selections.
Oh yeah, man! Flying J's, they don't mess around. I'm a big fan. Back in the day when I used to live in Tooele, and I was not concerned about the LBs whatsoever. I would drive into work, and the Flying J there had a breakfast pizza, and it was like sausage gravy with heavy cheese and sausage on a slice of pizza, and I'd grab a slice of that on the way to work 3 or 4 or maybe 5 days a week. And man, I was loving life.
That's a heart attack.
Well, like I said, there's been a lot of work to do to repair some damage. So there's a reason we've had a long year.
I've been eyeballing these hamburger dogs.
Oh, yeah.
I know people out there, they know the hamburger dog, and all it is hamburger that's rolled into a hot dog shape.
Yep.
And it sits on the rollers with the hot dogs, and it drops a bunch of grease, and they're overcooked. But I've been eyeballing them. I'm probably going to hit them, probably break 3 or 4. So
put a little nacho cheese
hamburger
sauce
hot
on them.
dog. Oh, man.
You can do it. Do it right, man.
It's so great.
Yeah.
It's fun to be back here in your territory, Scotty. Everybody knows you. I just said, hey, Scotty G said I could plop down here. He said it would be okay. And they said, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna go hit your buddy up at the gas station and get my free frozen beef burrito.
Yeah, all you gotta do is go to the country store down in Declo. Ask for Jay Fox, and Jay will be like, "All right, man. You know Scott? I'll get you that free frozen burrito. It's yours." He get you squared away. Foxy's the man. So yeah, when you get those truckers walking by looking to take their shower with their shower voucher and all that stuff, this is going to be an interesting show to say the least.
Oh my gosh! If you hear me get abducted, if I say watermelon, in fact, if I just yell a fruit,
yeah,
just send help.
Okay.
I really hope you're not abducted in plain sight.
Yeah, I'm kind of ashamed to admit this.
Oh, B.
It's not my most proud moment. It is not my most proud moment.
Oh,
it was right in this area.
Yeah. No, it was not. That was on the other side of the state. Stop it. You leave my side of the state out of this. That's the Rexburg, Idaho
Falls.
Falls.
Pocatello.
Yeah.
That was Pocatello. Yeah, it was in Pocatello.
Yeah, you're going the other way. There. All right. Let's get to it. We got a busy show. Frank Dolce will join us at 1 o'clock for the Ute Preview Show. Always fun to catch up with Frank, who we'll try to get him out of his shell and see if he'll have an opinion or two. Hans is on his way to watch a little volleyball action. Dude, I'm so fired up for you. You're such a proud dad. You got so much good stuff going on in your life right now.
Well, that's fun. I'm headed up to watch Treasure Valley take on a team out of northern Washington. So my daughter is playing her butt off, playing some great volleyball. So it's tough, man. You got to make a day trip if you got to make a day trip, but you got to see these kids play. So
I know.
Headed up to Ontario, Oregon. Only about 3.5 hours away. So once we close up the show, I'll jump in the car. We'll get up there, and we'll get there for 7 o'clock tip time.
I love it, man. And that's the thing. There's you get to a point in your life where you're like, oh, we got lots more kids and lots more events. And then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, the clock's starting to tick here a little bit.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up, Scotty, because I hope every parent out there that's listening that they know, like, okay, yeah, you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and you're just digging out of holes and trying to make money and trying to keep kids in clothes and in sporting programs. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just had a daughter graduate and her eligibility is out. I've got another daughter that's got only 2 years of eligibility left in college after this. My son's a senior. I've got a 15-year-old that's a freshman, and you're starting to look at it like, okay, I might only be another, 4-6 years in sports if my kids really push far out into college sports.
Yeah.
And if you get lucky, then you get one maybe that'll play into the professional realm, professional volleyball or professional football, and then it's done. It's kind of a small window, but you feel like when you're in the mix of it, you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's never going to stop. You're just always going to be working and dishing money out to sports organizations because it's getting so expensive to raise an athlete.
Yep.
It's almost impossible to raise an athlete now.
Yeah, and frankly, I mean, I'll say this is, my two oldest didn't go the athletic route. They went other routes. My youngest is going into sports and loves it, but I'm telling you, whatever your kid goes into, there's going to be somebody with a handout looking for money. Whether it's debate, whether it's orchestra, whether it's choir, whether it's whatever. There's always somebody there going, gimme, 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 gimme. They're going to get you. They're going to get you somewhere.
And that's what's so incredible about Ron McBride. He raises money for families that absolutely just cannot afford it. And that's what he does. And that's what the Ron McBride Foundation is all about. They raise money and they build activities for kids, for families that cannot afford it. But they still get them the right coaching or the right teaching or, the right things that they can get out there and experience after-school programs so that we're not raising kids with too much time on their hands and no money that are out there doing dumb things. So I love the Ron McBride Foundation for that exact reason because Scotty and Lloyd, as you guys know, it is an expensive proposition raising children.
Oh, yeah.
And
I can't wait for Lloyd. I can't wait for Lloyd to really get hit by it too, because Lloyd, you got your $120 little league fees here and there.
Fall league right now with baseball, yes. Then there's the two of those because there's two leagues that he's playing in.
Yeah, and so and that hurts. I mean, I'm not saying that hurts, but then the older they get,
leagues.
then the super leagues and the traveling leagues, which I'm sure Xavier will be a part of because he's got dad's DNA, so he's gonna be a good player. And and then you'll be like, oh, well, let's second mortgage time.
Yeah, I need to talk to Mac because I'm going to need some foundation.
Yeah,
money.
The Lloyd Cole Foundation.
He's got his own separate branch.
We really should start our own foundation, and it just benefits us.
I know. It benefits our kids' sports adventures.
Help us so we can help you.
Yeah.
After school adventure.
You still want
help
the hot
us
takes?
So that our kids,
you need to help us.
Help us so that our kids don't hurt you. We just don't want them to be out there being a menace. That's all we want.
Yeah, it's a 501c3 and it just benefits us. They're like, okay, well, who is this money going towards? Us and our endeavors. Oh,
Scotty, how big of a wreck is Lloyd going to be when he starts paying Super League fees?
Oh my gosh,
because thousands.
Yeah.
That's thousands of dollars, and then it's traveling all over the country. Like I'm watching Scott Brown, who is one of my best friends in this entire world, and his son Dawson Brown is a high level recruit, and he's been a part of the Super League, traveling all over the country. I mean, they go everywhere, and I just know that the travel and the time and the games and hours at the baseball field. I mean, Lloyd, you better really start loving baseball because you and Jess are going to be sitting at baseball games for 5 days out of a 7-day week and probably 4 to 5 hours out of the day. Like it's crazy what these guys go through.
Yeah, buckle
right now it's like 3 days a week, and Saturdays is. As you know, we're pretty busy on Saturdays as far as with, college football, pre- and post-game shows. So, I'm not seeing a lot of those right now.
Yeah, that stinks. All right, we got a lot on the plate. Let's get to it. It is time for your starting lineup. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hans and Scotty G.
Let's go!
The lineup is set, and it's time to kick off the show with the biggest topic of the day. This is the starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans, there's an old adage, Vegas knows. And that's an interesting line in regards to the Utah-Oklahoma State game, where Utah was a 2.5-point favorite yesterday afternoon. This morning, they wake up as a 3-point underdog. A massive 5.5, 6-point swing that goes from Utah being favored to Oklahoma State being favored. Now, let's dig into this a little bit, because a lot of people aren't really up to speed on how Vegas works. Vegas essentially would love you to just bet on the game. They just want you to bet. So they want to put a line out there that's going to encourage people to bet. But then they also understand that there's storylines that they need to get out in front of. And if they're hearing something along the lines of maybe a certain quarterback not playing for the University of Utah, they will adjust that line very quickly, because they know a flood of money is about to come in on one side. Now, look, I don't know if this has anything in regards to Cam. I don't know exactly what would push this line this dramatically. This line doesn't move this much just based on money alone. Now, if a huge amount of money comes in on one side, Vegas will adjust the line accordingly. But to move it 6 points, there's not enough money on this game to move it 6 points. So, or 5.5 points. So, I don't know what's going on here, Hans, but it is a weird line movement, to say the least.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on from my point of view. Either Floyd Mayweather or Drake or Mattress Mac came in with a $1.2 million wager that truly did sway the line, as you were talking about. Like there was some type of big money bet, and they're like, oh, boy, we better get some money on the other side of this thing. Holy moly. Sometimes that can really move the dial. I still don't think that's a 5 or 6 point move, but it'll move the dial. I think that they might have got a big money bet. Or, as you mentioned, you're without a major player in that game. And, I just tend to sit back and listen to the insiders. We had Steve Bartle on this show yesterday. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scotty and Lloyd, but I believe Steve Bartle said that it's full expectation to have Cam Rising on the field and ready to go against Oklahoma State.
Correct.
That he would be surprised if Cam Rising was not on the field and ready to go against Oklahoma State. I have not heard anything to the contrary as of this moment. There's nothing that's telling me, other than this Vegas shift, that there could be a potential issue with any type of personnel on this Utah roster. So I tend to believe that it was some type of major money move, or because Scotty, I try to pay attention to these things, and I try to get wind and noise, and I'm not getting any wind or noise. Are you?
Nope, I'm not. But then again, nobody keeps the secret better than Kyle Whittingham and the Utes. So, but if Vegas knows, then I think we would get a little bit of, we would get some of the smoke as well. And there's just not a lot of smoke out there in regards to Cam Rising. So
there really is no smoke out there. And I'm not saying that he could miss this game. I'm not saying that. I mean, and I'm not saying that he could potentially not miss this game. Like I think that there's probably possibilities on both sides, but what I'm saying is I am not getting word. I am not hearing, I'm not sensing it, and I'm not sensing it as much from the Utah insiders.
Yeah.
These are the types of things. The reason Steve Bartle is a part of the zone And the reason Steve Bartle joins the Hans and Scotty show is because we look at him as the most trusted Utah insider in the state of Utah. I feel like he's got the best insight. I feel like he's got the best sense of things. And that's why Scotty and I put him on this show. That's why he's writing. And I have not seen any indicators from Steve to the contrary.
Nope.
So I have to believe that Cam Rising is good to go. So, Scotty, I don't know if they sat down and they ran some evaluation or if they got some word on something otherwise, but I do know Boone Pickens Stadium is tough. I know that Utah is number 12 team in the country. Oklahoma State's number 14. I know it's a 2 o'clock kick. I know it's on a major network. I know it is projected as the number one game in the country, number one matchup in the country. And there's a ton of excitement surrounding it. I just can't imagine that this move is based off of Cam Rising's ability to play or not play. But what else would move it like this, Scotty? I mean, you've been watching lines a lot longer than I have.
No, those are the two things. And that's why I laid out. There's two things that'll move a line. Breaking news and huge money. And Vegas, I mean, I've been around a lot of people who, in fact, there was a guy that, I don't even know if I could tell this story, but there was a guy who covered the Jazz and was a reporter. He worked for a very reputable media source out of Las Vegas. And all of a sudden, this dude, and this was like, I want to say 15 years ago. This was not recent. This was like 14, 15 years ago. And this guy was all of a sudden at every shoot around and was at every practice and was with the team every step of the way. And there were some people in the Jazz organization that did some background on him and said, this is kind of weird, guy from Vegas. And they felt like this dude's motives weren't 100% on the up and up, that he may be trying to feed information, and they immediately shut it down and revoked his credential and booted him out. And that was just under some thought that he might, be up to no good without any real true evidence that he was. And so that's how serious Vegas is. Like, Vegas is going to do whatever they can to get whatever kind of information that they can possibly glean to try to make sure that they have the right line and they stay up to speed on everything, so that when the news does break, if it does break, that they're out in front of it and that line moves ahead of time, so that they don't get caught with their pants down and end up losing a ton of money. So,
wow.
I'm just saying, I'm with you, man. I'm not saying he is playing. I'm not saying he isn't playing. I haven't heard anything to the contrary that he's not playing, but I'm with you. That would take multiple $1 million bids for that bets for that line to move like that. 6 points does not happen that easily.
It would, and just to get a little bit deeper into the weeds on the money movement or the line movement, there's nothing on Oklahoma State's side of things that has been announced or that was a possible late addition that makes you feel any more comfortable about them.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about a Utah subtraction that would give Oklahoma State a better chance. But the other thing you look at is, okay, did Oklahoma State have an addition? No, their quarterback's been healthy. Their running back's been healthy. Their defense is the same defense, and their defense is not that good.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions. I mean, we'll really jump into the look of Oklahoma State's defense in the Utah Preview Show with Frank, but this defense has a lot of gaps. They give up a lot of passing yards. They give up a lot of rushing yards. They gave nearly 400 yards of offense to Tulsa. And it's not like they've played the who's who of a football schedule. South Dakota State put 20 points on them. Arkansas put 31 points on them. Tulsa put up 350 or 360 yards off the top of my head. And so their defense, it's not like they're getting, all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, Ryan Urlacher's kid is ready to go for the Notre Dame. Like, it's Oklahoma State hasn't gotten anything that would make me think, oh, yeah, well, that would give them a much better chance against Utah. So there's a lot of confusion in regards to why this line would shift as dramatically as it's shifted. But I have got no return from anybody that would tell me that Cam Rising's out of this game. But Scotty, you're right too. I think every program does a great job of closing their mouth and making it really difficult to get any information, and that's great. Glad they do it because they need every competitive advantages they possibly can get, especially in a game like this. But I think that would be too big a news.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get that, and somebody's going to have it, and somebody's going to tip it off.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yep. All right, Hans and Scotty. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's game week for the Utes, and the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. After a road win against Utah State, Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road for their Big 12 showdown as they square off against Oklahoma State. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Ute football. Then catch the Ute Pregame Show this Saturday at 1, with the postgame show immediately following the game. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies head east to Philadelphia for a big non-conference battle against Tempo. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to kick off your Ute Preview Show coming up at 1 o'clock. Frank Dolce will come by. We'll hang out with him and get his thoughts on the Cam Rising situation as well. Will he or won't we? We all anticipate he will, but maybe Vegas knows something else with that line movement. Hans, I know you spent a lot of time breaking down that Utah State-Utah film. Now that you've had a chance to look at the Aggies a little bit, what were your impressions from what you saw from Nate Dryling's crew in that game?
Well, I think they're going to win a lot of games. And that's my first impression. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I think that they've got plenty of talent, and I think that they were playing out of their minds. But you had some spectacular catches, some incredible grabs. You had some great scheme. You know, there were multiple plays that I thought scheme-wise really caught Utah. So I like that. I like the fact that the game planned well. I talked a lot about Teague Anderson. Teague Anderson had a challenge in front of him with Van Fillinger. Van is one of the best defensive ends in the country. And that's back-to-back weeks that Teague Anderson, the right tackle, the right offensive tackle for Utah State, has answered the call.
Yeah.
And very good game from him.
And when he doesn't get Van, he gets Logan Fano. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we're going to take this one but give you this one. So, really difficult. But I thought he answered the call. I thought that there were some great defensive moments. Number 11 down on the goal line that stopped Utah, made them kick the field goal. Navarez, number 11 defensively for Utah State.
I'm kicking myself here.
And I don't know why the name is slipping my mind.
Yeah, same. I hate it when this happens. Damn it. Sorry, keep going.
He fired through the gap, and looked spectacular. And he did it multiple times. So I like that. Obviously, Faison goes without saying. I think he's going to be the best running back.
By the way, Gabe Peterson.
So I think Faison is going to be the best running back in the Mountain West Conference, and I think Utah State's going to win a lot of games. That's what I think, Scotty. I mean, but then I sent you a text because I spent 3.5 hours watching that game in slow-mo, and I'm conflicted, man. I'm really conflicted. You saw that other video that I sent you of Bryson Barnes?
Yeah.
That throw on the post?
Yep.
That was just – no pressure, way overthrown, and then there was one that was slightly pressured and put on the money. Then there was a beautiful fourth down throw that was essentially the same type of post, but a little bit more movement to the inside on the one he overthrew. But I look at Bryson Barnes, and I'm like, Bryson's going to win you a lot of games in the Mountain West Conference, but it was well said by Coach Dreiling. If Petrus was ready, Petrus is your number one quarterback. And there just aren't a lot of questions. And I'm conflicted on that because Bryson is a gamer, but I also called the Utah versus Northwestern Bowl game in Las Vegas last year. I called that game, and Bryson was a disappearing act, and it was hard to watch that offense. I think that they had like 50 yards passing and like a total of 210 or something. It was really rough. So it can go downhill, but what I saw, I see a Utah State team that's exactly what you said. They're loaded with talent.
Yeah. Faison played out of his mind. You saw the tight end Brock Lane. You saw how good he can be. That offensive line's coming together. Jalen Royals, Otto Tia had himself a game as well. Kobe Bowman. These guys all came up with big catches. Royals, I anticipate. I don't know if he'll be back this week, but he's not going to be out for long. If he is, I think there's a good chance he plays on Saturday. That's me speculating, but I think there's a good chance he plays. But if he doesn't, they've got a bye after this week before Boise State, so I would be shocked if he's not in the lineup for that Boise State game. Kyrese White, another player that I know is got banged up, took a nasty shot, clean hit, but a nasty hit, and he left the game. But I think he's going to fight like crazy to be back out on the field. So coming out of those two games against USC and Utah, I think Utah State's in a pretty good place injury-wise. Could have been a whole lot worse. I still have visions of that LSU game from a few years ago when they went to LSU in early October and just got beat up physically, mentally, and they were never the same after that game. I don't get that sense after this two-game stretch with USC and Utah.
Which is a stacked two-game stretch, man. And for them to hold up in it tells me a lot about them. But, Scotty, I think about Utah State's situation, and I worry about it. And I worry about it outside of our show. I worry about Utah State away from doing any type of sports radio or having concern for any Aggie fans. I worry about Utah State with the Mount West Conference and their current collapse with Boise State and others pulling out and leaving them high and dry, and then different lawsuits coming from all different angles, whether it's from Jerry Bovee or coming from Blake Anderson to the higher-ups with the president and the athletic director, and where things stand with them and how they feel about things, and are they the right to take you into this world of unknown now that the Mountain West Conference is collapsing. And I think about Utah State a lot because they are a foundation of the state of Utah.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of love and respect for Utah State, and I want the best for them in every scenario, Scotty. And I just feel like there's so much unknown that this is not the right time to have any type of controversies or any type of lawsuits or any type of firings or interim coaches. Like, this is the time where you need to have the best athletic director in the conference, and you got to have a head coach that's established. So everybody's like, well, of course. I mean, wherever we go, this is an easy staple. We put them in. It's the Utah State Aggies. And I worry about it, Scotty.
I think that, look, I'm really close to the situation, and I've got to be careful about what I say, and I understand that because I'm privy to things that a lot of people aren't. But I will say that I think that fear and concern is warranted to a certain degree, and it's not because of the inadequacies of anybody involved. There's just a lot of exterior forces that could go against you that you really have no control over. And there's a lot of things that you can control that you need to make sure you have dialed in. There's been this black cloud above this school and this athletic department, in particular the football program, for a long time, and it's got to be better. And whether you feel like the administration overreacted in terms of what they did in regards to firings and who they let go, that can certainly be up for debate. But the fact is, things had to change, and the perception had to change. And when you've got the Department of Justice breathing down your neck, you have to take things seriously. And so, do I agree with all the moves? No, I don't. But do I understand that there had to be significant action that had to take place? Yeah. And so, that's why people get paid big bucks, is to try to figure out how to change the perception, how to change the reality, the toxic environment that seemed to persist up there. If you read the DOJ report, there were some things that just, frankly, were unacceptable. And it's totally understandable why people really felt like drastic changes needed to be made. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, Utah State's got to win. They've got to win at a high level. They've got to make statements, because never is it more important for you to be good on the field than it is right now, because you need to show worth. And you can't change the fact that you're in Logan, Utah, up in Cache Valley. You can't change the fact that it's not easy to get to. You don't have an airport up there that has a commercial ability. You can't change the weather. You can't change the TV market. You can't change any of that. But what you can do is put a product out on the field or the court that are going to win games and say, hey, we need these guys to be a part of what we're doing because they bring a competitive edge. We need these guys to be a part of what we're doing because they play really good football and they play really good basketball. And that's what's ultimately going to be the deciding factor, is the value you bring on a week in and week out basis. That is ultimately what it's all going to come down to.
It is, man. And you asked me right out of the gates in this segment, how do I think, or how do I feel about Utah State? And I'm watching number 5, I believe it's Autotia, if I'm not mistaken. I'm watching number 5 hit route after route, and I really like, I think it's Jack Hestera?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Number 14.
He had a couple of incredible grabs, including that quick slant for the touchdown. He kind of files into double coverage off that quick slant for that touchdown. That was awesome. And then he had a one-handed grab down the sideline that was complete circus act. And the catch by Brock Lane, the 20-yard catch by Brock Lane was incredible. And I'm not even getting to Jalen Royals yet. Like, Jalen is just special. So you've got this receiving core that's incredible. You got Rashul Faison. You've got an offensive line that's clicking and working. I think that they go to Temple. I'm hoping they go to Temple and have a statement game so that they can all feel reassured with each other, because this is an 0-3 Temple team. It's not a bad Temple team. It's not a terrible football team. It's just an 0-3 Temple team that's going to be on the road, that I think that everybody's going to get in the hotel. They're all going to hunker down. They'll do their walkthroughs. They'll share their meal. They'll all be close together for the weekend, and hopefully they find something that galvanizes them, because all the noise outside of that football office is stupidity.
Yeah.
It is just stupidity. And when you're trying to build a product around ridiculous things that are happening, and you're like, wait a second, I'm not the one that's doing this. I'm the one that's working out. I'm bench pressing, I'm squatting, and then I'm going out, I'm practicing, and I'm still trying to keep my grades up, and I'm out here on the road against Temple, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's all you can do. But you're looking around like, why is there so much noise? It's just horrible, and it's got to stop. And I know that it's probably going to get a little worse before it gets better. It's just a bummer that they're dealing with this type of noise right now, because I do love this coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I love them, man. I think that they're tremendous guys. And now this is when they've got to lock it in, and they've got to show that they're tremendous coaches as well, because you're not going to find better men.
No.
They're truly great men. I've gotten to know them really well, and they're truly great men.
Hans and Scotty, 1246. Coming up next, what you may have missed. Then at 1 o'clock, Frank Dolce will roll in here, and we'll give you your Ute Preview Show, getting you ready for Utah and what should be just an absolutely fun game as they hit the road and really square off against an Oklahoma State team that is going to be, let's just be honest, that place is going to be a madhouse in Stillwater. So we'll break it all down for you beginning at 1 o'clock. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
The statistics tell you that Jake Retzloff getting the job done at quarterback. I know, missed some throws. I know the turnovers. My gosh, I know some of the risky stuff he's doing and some of that stuff. Like, dude, you're not Brett Favre. Like, chill out, man. Like, just take care of the ball and do what you have to do. We still need to see him against Kansas State, against Baylor, on and on and on. But through 3 games, which is all we have to go on, you look at him statistically, and I'm being objective here. I was critical. I didn't think he was going to win the starting job. This is coming from somebody who didn't think he was going to win the starting job. I'm looking at it after 3 games. I'm like, this is exactly what you needed to get out of the quarterback position.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's the first Big 12 battle for the Utes as they head to Stillwater for a showdown against Oklahoma State. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Sorry, Lloyd. I'm trying to got the new laptop. I'm trying to get my Outlook up here. It's not where it normally is. Yeah, you want to give away some tickets?
Yeah, how about we give some RSL tickets? Right now, caller 12 at 801-575-ZONE wins a pair of tickets to see RSL take on Portland on September 21st at America First Field.
There you go. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Hans, I can't believe you're having problems with your hotel in Jerome. That's stupid.
Yeah. I can't speak it too loud, but yeah. Yep. Because I'm actually sitting right here in the lobby.
Oh, okay.
I should be in a room, but
yes,
take what we're able to get, and without complaining.
Yes,
out loud.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't want to get you into trouble, but my goodness,
come on, you said it well. This is not the Aria on New Year's Eve in Vegas. All right.
Yes, you're Jerome freaking Idaho. Come on.
There's 2 cars in the parking lot.
You just, I think you should just
I'm
be
sure
grateful
early
that
check-in is okay.
They should be grateful you're not coming in there like, hey, what's the hourly rate? Come on.
Yeah, because that's what they're used to.
Yeah, exactly.
But
jeez, calm it down over there. People
But
going on power
We're doing
trips.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing good.
By the way, your guy, your old teammate, Steve Sarkisian, are we seeing the transition here? As he has announced, Arch Manning will be the starting quarterback for Texas, and what you may have missed. Now, Quinn Ewers still banged up, and that's what Sark says is that, hey, look, Quinn's still our guy, but here's the thing. When you there's Wally Pipp, and then there's Arch Manning, and when you let Arch Manning get a little bit of a foothold, and he goes out there and he'll play well, and they've got Louisiana Monroe, and no disrespect to John Hartwells, who's the now athletic director out there, but that's going to be an easy win. He's going to put up big numbers. He's going to look great. And then if Quinn Ewers comes back, that first interception he throws back in that lineup, oh boy, all those Texas fans are going to want that Manning, legacy under center.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get that chance. I don't think he'll even get the chance to come back and throw the pick. I think that they're going to find every reason. When Manning takes the field and goes 9 of 12, completes 75%, goes for 250 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then has an insane run.
Yeah.
He had that 67-yard run for a touchdown. He had another 2 carries on top of that just to get out of the pocket and extend it a little bit. I don't think he's going to get the chance. Now, Arch might come in and he might underperform. I can't see that happening. But as you mentioned, you got UL Monroe, and then you got Mississippi State. And Mississippi State is off to a really bad start. So my guess is he'll beat the trash out of UL Monroe, and you'll probably see the third-string quarterback come in the third and fourth quarter of UL Monroe, and then he'll trash Mississippi State. And if he does that, then they're going to have the confidence in him to take on number 15 Oklahoma. And if if you see the confidence against Oklahoma, then that's the big matchup next, Scotty. That's number 2 Georgia versus number 1 Texas on October 19th. And the entire country is going to be watching, once again, a Manning get behind center and do his thing. And it's some of the early looks of his athleticism, but he's got the Manning over-the-top release.
Yeah.
But he's got the athleticism that it is not Eli.
No, it's not Peyton. Nope.
It's a next level type maneuvering and ability. So I don't think yours gets another shot. As terrible as that is to say, he had to have known that, right? Like he knows.
I think as soon as you left that game with that injury, you got to be thinking to yourself, "Oh boy, because they'll give him an easy out. They'll say, you know what, the injury was worse than we thought, and we're going to have to sit him down for the season so that, you know, he won't hurt his draft stock or anything like that. Because he's still a really good quarterback. Quinn Ewers is really good. He's just not the future.
In his 2 years as the starter in 22 and 23, he's over 6,000 yards, and he's got 37 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah.
6,000 yards, 37 touchdowns through the air to 12 interceptions, and took Texas a long way last year and has a ton of faith, and he's a junior, so I don't know. I mean, obviously draft eligible. I don't know if he then transfers. I can guarantee you this. There's no way Ewers and Manning are a part of this team next year.
No.
Like both of them.
Yeah.
Like it's one or the other because they're both great quarterbacks. But, you know, Manning's been waiting for the chance. And I can hear Peyton telling him right now. I can hear it. Peyton's like, just wait for your shot.
Yep.
Keep your mouth shut. Wait for your shot. You know, they didn't want to make a big deal of NILs and collectives, and they were waiting for these $1 million paydays until he actually did something in college football because they didn't want it to be the Manning story of, well, you did nothing and you got paid everything. And I promise you that family's sitting back saying, you're going to get a chance.
Yep.
And when you get the chance, never give it back.
Yep.
Because that's their belief. And this is going to be an interesting one to watch.
Hans and Scotty. Hans is on his way to watch a little volleyball with his daughter coming up tonight. He'll be back with you tomorrow as we'll have a Football Friday with Ron McBride and Alema Harrington. Frank Dolce is going to join us next for your Ute Preview Show. Adam's with us from Beehive Mills. And Hans, I'm telling you, man, there's nothing better than these Beehive Mills. You walk into your home, after that thing's been in a slow cooker, you get hit with that wave of whether it's the pot roast or whether it's the cordon bleu or whether it's, pork chops, whatever. It is just incredible, Adam, what you're building there. Sorry. Go ahead, Hans.
Oh, it's just great. And you mentioned the tortilla soup. Like, the tortilla soup is just incredible. But what I want people to understand, this is how it's really changed Amanda and I's life. It is a crock pot pre-prepared meal, but it's still hearty and it's still healthy. It's fresh chopped ingredients. It's uncooked meats. It's nothing overly processed. It's like really good, hearty, wholesome food. And you put it all in a crock pot and you set it, you walk away. But when you come back, you've got this great home-style meal. And Adam, I think just the simplicity of it has been one of our favorite things. Just outside of the flavor of the food, the simplicity has really changed things.
Yeah, that's our goal. Make it as easy as possible, as economical as possible. Really, where we'll do the meal prep, all you have to do is throw it in a slow cooker, wait a few hours, and then you're ready to go. And as Scotty was saying, it's home cooked. Like, we want to make home cooked dinner as easy as possible. And then, Hans, you mentioned the soups as well. So you mentioned chicken tortilla soup. We have a soup menu out right now. We actually had a last call email go out for September soup. So we'll have a September or a October soup. But as far as this current menu, which every month is different, this current menu, which has summer corn chowder, chicken tortilla soup, lemon chicken orzo soup, chicken pot pie, cowboy beef chili, plus 5 others. That menu will only be available until next week, just because we've got to move on to the next month after that. I love the subscription model, and I love the fact that every month you get new variations.
And the same thing with the soups. And look, people love those soups. September, October, those are huge soup months. And boom, you'll have a whole unveiling pretty soon. I mean, this is going to be like a big event every month where you're like, all right, here's our debut coming up for October. And it's going to be fun, man.
No, it is. And to us, it's always exciting as well to see what's on next month's menu. The next October's menus will be released next week, but maybe we'll do a tease.
There you go.
I can show it to you next segment.
I love it. Yeah, let's do it. Hans and Scotty, but get there now. BeehiveMills.com. Use the promo code ZONE. It's going to save you $12.80. You sign up for the subscription. That'll give you another 10% off. It's all available for you right now at BeehiveMills.com. This is all fresh. It's all delivered right to your house, and all you have to do is throw it in the slow cooker, and you're good to go, folks. It's that simple. BeehiveMills.com. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars open up conference play with a battle against Kansas State in Provo. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Third down. Play fake to Faison. Barnes for White. He's got it. No, it's picked. It's picked. Picked off for Smith Snowden, who makes an unbelievable play. What a play for Snowden to take it away where it looked like White had it. And it comes to Snowden instead. Aggies go fast. Gain at 31. Barnes. Touchdown, Jack Castera. Keep an eye. Third downs today. Bernard through the middle, lunges end zone, touchdown Utah. Mekhi Bernard is in for the Utes.
Well, I'm glad he screwed up that call, too, because I did, too. I thought Kyrese White had it for the touchdown, and then Smith Snowden got his big paw in there, ripped that thing away. One of the better plays that you'll see in a long, long time. The sophomore just absolutely, like a thief in the night, stealing that ball away, and was just incredible. I was texting his dad saying, man, that was something else. That was incredible. But Utah gets the win in Logan against Utah State. It's your Ute Preview Show. Me, Hans, but more importantly, here's the man himself, Frank Dolce. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Oh, what? I hear him, but I don't see him.
He's always with us.
That's
Frank's first time in broadcast. He's just realizing that we can have different different people in different areas during broadcast.
Wow.
Technology is something else.
That is
man.
super strange because whenever I say to Lloyd or to any one of you, hey, I'm going to be out of town today, but I can, then you're like, oh, no, we can't do it over the phone because the quality is it's terrible.
Frank, you can't be on the phone for 2 hours,
and
Frank.
You can't do that. What is Hans doing? He's in a parking lot in Jerome, Idaho.
Yeah, but he's got the gear to be able to do it.
Oh, Hans has the gear.
Yes.
The gear.
I've got the virtual studio set up.
He's got
air quotes.
That gear is probably worth more than the car that he's driving.
I'm currently driving.
Yeah.
Are you driving the van around?
No, I'm in my 2011 Hyundai Sonata.
He's only halfway joking.
He's not joking at all.
I might add,
Well,
and I felt
Hans.
bad because you offered to come on, and I need you to know that I was not putting you off on this. You kindly, out of the goodness of your own heart, texted me and said, I would love to come on your Utah State pregame show. And I thought, oh, that'll be awesome. And then I was talking to Christian, and Christian's like, yeah, we can't do that because we're on this other board, and we can't route phone calls through there. And so... And then I texted you that, and you're like, it sounds fishy. I don't think that's true. And I'm like, no. And so I texted, and so I called Lloyd. I'm like, Lloyd, this is right. And Lloyd's like, yeah, you can't.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Scotty, I'd love to join you for your pregame show. I'm happy to. I'd set aside however long you need, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever. Happy to do that for you, Scotty. Nope, Frank, we can't. You can't call into a radio show. That the technology doesn't exist.
By the way, I'm still waiting for you to respond to me about filling in because Christian Cox was out about filling in on my pre and post game show. But whatever.
I don't have any message from you.
Sure, right.
I don't. I honestly, I
convenient.
don't.
It is convenient, right? Isn't that
so
convenient? You think I want to do that by myself? No.
Lloyd Cole. Let's see. I don't have a message from you.
Okay.
Do you want to look at my phone?
No.
It's okay. Let's. What do you say? When in
I'm
Rome.
saying
When
check
in Rome,
your
right?
phone. You show me the message that you sent on your phone.
Oh, I've got no problem doing that.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, boomer.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know what else to say.
Yeah, I know. That's a go-to.
And that one came out.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I was going to call him a Karen.
No, Lloyd's not a Karen.
Yeah.
He's a boomer in spirit.
I'm not.
Maybe
I'm
not
not
in age.
hip on all the lingo.
What the kids are calling each other these days.
Lloyd did reprimand 2 young boys that were throwing rocks in his neighborhood, though. He grabbed them by the ear and hauled them down to their house that was like, what was it, Lloyd, a half block down?
We're going to talk to your parents.
Yes.
Lloyd did go Karen on a couple
my
of boys.
neighborhood.
Good. You don't throw rocks in the neighborhood.
I forgot all about that.
So I guess the biggest question of the day is Cam Rising playing on Saturday?
Well, I thought so. And I really believed he was. But all of a sudden, Vegas moves this line 6 points.
I know.
So
what are you hearing, Frank?
Yeah, you tell me.
I am not hearing anything. I was looking around for whoever told us that last week that he had the laceration was going to keep him out for 6 to 8 weeks. And then Coach Prime responded to that. But I haven't seen any news from that guy.
Oh, what was that guy's name?
Willie
Foosball or
Willie
something like
Foosball. Dr. Willie Foosball. He hasn't.
Dr. Twinkies?
He hasn't commented on whether or not Cam is playing, so we have no definitive answer. Would I be surprised? Not really.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised.
If he was or wasn't?
If he wasn't. Unfortunately, I just wouldn't be surprised.
So
Scotty and I were talking about this, Frank, and typically I get at least some noise. I mean, we've got the best Utah insider on the station with Steve Bartle. I mean, he you can't even fart around that campus without Steve knowing about it. Like he's very tuned in.
Hey,
and
I know you're in Jerome, but we don't, let's clean it up
Class
a
it
little
up,
bit.
dude. What the heck?
I think he made a very
he
coherent,
can't flatulate. Nobody can
and
flatulate without Steve Bartle hearing it or
point.
knowing about it.
Very descriptive.
But honestly, you would think that we'd have some mention of it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on the show yesterday, Frank, and he said that he would be, I believe the word was surprised if he didn't play. So I'm still expecting Cam Rising to play, but I don't know why that money would shift as dramatically as it did. But I feel like we would have some indicator that Cam was questionable, at the very minimum that he was questionable.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for it to shift that way.
Yeah.
Unless Vegas really started to dive into the game film the last couple weeks for both teams. I mean, Utah did not manage Utah State extremely well. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And if Utah is supposed to have a defense equivalent, at least equivalent to what USC is throwing out on the field, they certainly didn't demonstrate it against Utah State. And in fact, Utah could have been in a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah,
in that game
when Isaac Wilson throws that interception.
Yeah,
and they're down 7. They got the ball at the 30-yard line inside the 30, and Utah State shoots themselves in the foot.
Right,
penalty, TFL, and then they miss the field goal.
Right.
But if they go down and they score a touchdown, you got a tie game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Jeez.
So, and I thought Utah State in Faison was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought Bryson Barnes he probably could have been a little more efficient, especially in the passing game. And if that were the case, that outcome could have been completely different. On the other side of the ball for Utah, the bright spot to me was Isaac Wilson. Like, I thought he took a nice step forward in that game. The calm that he demonstrated in the pocket, his athleticism, he threw the ball well. it wasn't perfect, but I think he took a big step forward in that game.
You know what?
I still don't think Utah hasn't identified any kind of dominance at the line of scrimmage or a run game. And those two things keep haunting Utah. They just haven't demonstrated the ability to dominate in that area of the game.
And Hans and I have talked about this all week. They got the big run from Mekhi Bernard, which really bumped up their average.
Yeah.
If you take away that one run, Utah averaged 3.9 yards an attempt.
Exactly.
Now, you can't tell the story of the game without that 64-yard run. I mean, obviously it happened, and Utah State gave it up, and Utah took advantage of it.
Yep.
And ended the game at that point. But still, outside, that was 41 carries. One carry of 64. The others were 3.9 yards a crack. And a lot of TFLs in the mix, too.
Yeah, I know. And Hans, I don't know. Are you, this is just what I'm seeing, and I've been harping on this since the very beginning. Are you seeing something different at the line of scrimmage?
No, I'm seeing the same. I don't know how much of it's an offensive line issue. I don't think much. What I'm seeing and the way I'm preparing going up against Isaac Wilson is I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm going to make sure that Mekhi Bernard and Mike Mitchell, that they can't beat me. And I know that Utah State ran a lot of run stunts and a lot of run blitzes, and they were forcing guys in the gap, and they were really doing a good job at it.
Yeah.
And Utah State's got some good defensive personnel that are fast to hit. But I could tell with 100% assurity that Utah State was like, well, we're not going to let them just ground and pound and beat us up, which pushed Isaac Wilson into 33 attempts.
Yeah.
So, if there's a team that's like, man, we got to take Cam Rising's arm away, maybe that loosens some things up and maybe it gives you more opportunity. But Mekhi still had, I know that he had that 64-yard run, but what did he end up having, like 130 yards or so, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they were continuing to push to it. And then that Mike Mitchell run down at the goal line showed some really good power. And, he took a couple of defenders with him. And Mike Mitchell's starting to show a little bit more. So, yeah, Frank, I haven't seen what I want to see, but I also haven't been completely disgusted by what I've seen. Like, I think it's there. It's just it's not going to be a Devontae Booker. There's not going to be this NFL
Moss,
hopeful.
A Devontae Booker.
Or Zach Moss.
A guy. Yeah. That may be the truth. And maybe teams are going to scheme Utah into a throwing game. Maybe that's just they're going to do whatever they can to take away, a run game from Utah. And it felt like, yes, Utah State was in that mode and trying to just make Utah one-dimensional with a young quarterback.
Well, let me give you the perfect example. Just look at the team that you're about to play in Oklahoma State. They've got the best running back in the country, and they're averaging 112 yards a game on the ground. They're averaging 350 yards a game through the air.
Yeah.
They've got 8 touchdowns through the air. They're averaging 8.4 yards per attempt. And 340 yards, 350 yards a game through the air. Why? Because everybody's looking at Oklahoma State like we're taking everybody and we're just going to we're going to do everything we can. And I know with Utah, the physicality, I'm like, well, let's make the freshman throw. So I know Utah State went to great lengths to take it away. And I know every team they've faced has gone to great lengths to take it away. But it's like, well, what happens when Cam Rising's back and he's dotting it all over the field to Keithy, Singer, Parks, Colorado, Carson Ryan. What happens then? Then what do you do?
Well, then you're in trouble. Like that's the thing. And so that's where Isaac Wilson, he needs to mature extremely quickly over the next several weeks. And
well, I did want to mention
this, assuming that he's playing this weekend.
You brought up Isaac Wilson, and I want to just mention this just because I spent a lot of time with the film this morning. He was great. He did a lot of great things, and he didn't get all the help he needed because Dijon Stanley had 2 blatant drops, one on a wheel route that should have been caught for probably another 50 to 60 yards.
Yeah, we can't.
And then another one on an out that should have been another 20 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
And then the interception that was thrown came off Brant Keithy's hands. Now, it was a little high and it was a little fast, but Frank, you tell me, that was a catchable football, was it not?
I think it's catchable. I think the degree of difficulty for that catch is pretty high. But when you have a guy like Brant Keithy, you sort of think, well, he'll make a play on that. And so it was just a bad set of circumstances, and a high degree of difficulty that Brant couldn't handle. And we've just come to expect him to manage that. So tip ball, interception, that's forgivable. But I still feel like this Utah football team offensively has to get it aligned at the line of scrimmage in the run game and take some of that pressure off the quarterback if they're going to really have a chance in this conference.
And especially if Isaac Wilson has to go either in this game or later in the year.
Especially if that's the case. So I think that's, those are the things on the offensive side of the ball. There's lots of talent there.
Hey, can I let me ask you this, though.
Yeah?
Where's Jalen Glover? 2 games. I mean, when Charlie Vincent's getting significantly more snaps, is it just that he's just not good enough?
Go ahead.
Did you guys watch, did you guys hear the running backs coach? Did you hear Quinton Ganther about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was very blunt. He's like he's got to do better. He's got to do more. And you could see it in his face. Quinton Ganther just wears his frustration on his face. Now, seems to be kind of a straightforward, ornery, serious guy all the time anyways. But he doesn't pull a lot of punches.
He's great because he coaches that way. Off the field, he's like the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Like such salt of the earth guy. But he's right. Like how long have we been saying this? For the past couple of years, Coach Whittingham has told us he's a big fan. Like, this is the guy. He's good. But he just, in opportunity after opportunity, he hasn't demonstrated the ability to be the inside the tackle, break a tackle at the line of scrimmage, average 4.5 or 5 yards a carry, 25 carries a game sort of back. He does some other things really well. Like, he's good out of the backfield. He's good in open space if you can get him out there. But for what Utah needs out of the run game, he hasn't been a great fit.
And I have not, and Hans, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember this was the one time where we had a coach absolutely get after us for not including a true freshman in our top 60 and 60. And it was Kyle Whittingham saying Jalen Glover needs to be in your top 60 and 60.
It was.
As a freshman? As an untested?
Before he had taken a snap at the University of Utah.
Well, I mean...
And so that's why this dude has always been on my radar.
Him. And he hyped him, and he's given him plenty of opportunity. Lloyd, I think you had the
this is Quinton Ganther. This is the quote that I was talking about with Quinton talking about Jalen Glover.
He's in a tough spot right now. I mean, he's a guy that he's been playing here since he was a true freshman, and now his reps have kind of cut down, so he has to continue to work, continue to be humble, and, show that that we don't need to keep him off the field. He has to earn it.
And you can hear in his voice when he says continue to be humble, that to me is an indicator that somebody may have felt entitled or that he deserves the right or that he's been crowned and that he's got to take the crown off and get back to work.
There's 2 things. He said we don't need to keep he needs to put us in a position where we don't need to keep him off the field. Well, like how more black and white can you be than that? You need to give us you need to let us put you on the field by your play. Like you can't keep telling us to keep you off the field. That's one. Number 2 is there's no faster way off of the Kyle Whittingham bus than lacking humility.
Yeah. Being entitled. And I don't, we're not saying that that's the case here.
No, not at all.
But
those comments are interesting. I think you're right, Hans. And so hey, I hope he figures it out. And I think he works hard. I mean, I think he does all those things, but the productivity, he's been given plenty of opportunity, and the productivity hasn't surfaced yet.
Mm-hmm. And will it? Or is that ship sailed? I mean, these are 2 DNPs back-to-back now.
It's going to be very difficult at this point. If Mekhi Bernard keeps playing the way he's playing, now he has to get better too. And if Mitchell continues to progress, he has to get better too. Like then you're down to 3, and then there's other guys who are chomping at the bit to just be given a chance in that backfield. So very interesting situation in the running back room right now.
Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
When it comes to high school football, KSL has you. Don't miss the Game Night Live Game of the Week.
It's a busy Friday as the high-powered offense of the Davis Darts takes on the stout defense of the Weaver Warriors in a matchup of one-loss teams. Stream the game online on the KSL Sports app or listen to the KSL Red Zone. It all starts at 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's Game Night Live, brought to you by UCCU. Love where you bang. Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars open up conference play with a battle against Kansas State in Provo. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday. That means it's your Ute Preview Show right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tomorrow will be a Football Friday. We'll be live at Rough Tough, 2252 West President's Drive in West Valley City, America's finest custom seat covers. Hans, I know you're a big fan of those seat covers. You've got them in your rides.
He's sitting on them right now in the car in the parking lot in Jerome, Idaho, where magically this week we have the technology for someone to call into the radio show.
He's not doing it over his cell phone.
Oh, man, Frank, I love you. I miss you. I wish I was right next to you so that I could hug you. Hey,
I wish
by the
you
way,
were
Scotty,
here so you could hug him too.
I was watching the Utah State game, and Carson Ryan caught a couple of passes, and he's got those beautiful flowing locks. And I couldn't help but imagine Frank with that hair. And the first thing that came to mind was Aaron Eckhart off of the movie Aaron Brockovich. Like that, you would be a dead ringer for like a biker with long hair, Frank. If you could grow hair, would you grow it like Carson Ryan?
No.
What would you do with it?
I would cut it and donate it to charity.
And just stay the way you are now. Keep it.
At this point, I think I would look funny with hair. My friends and kids see pictures of me when I had hair, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you look so weird."
Yeah.
So at this point,
I tried to grow hair about 8. Well, what was that, Scotty? 10 years ago?
Yeah,
when we first were starting
it's about the
show?
year after. I think you're like, I can't be around a bald guy this much. And so you're like, somebody on the show has to have hair.
So you grew it out?
I've got Joe Rogan's hairline. Like, when I grow my hair out, it is Joe Rogan's hairline. Extremely thin on the top, like the kind of the yarmulke area, and then crazy widow peaks, insane widow peaks, and then thinning. It just, I look horrible with it, and it makes my face look fatter. And I've told Scotty this too. It's weird. I've got this strange allergy to my sideburns. They grow really tight curls, and I think they hold a dander. And so when I scratch like the side of my head when I've got sideburns, it makes me sneeze.
I don't know what's happening right now.
No, he's being absolutely true though.
Is it?
Yeah, like I've seen this.
I just want to take a minute. I'm going to bring the room down a little.
Shocker.
I just got back from California. Well, Hans mentioned a yarmulke, and I was just at the funeral of a dear family friend in Southern California, Jewish family, salt of the earth. He lived 97 years.
Wow.
Unbelievable human being. I'm talking unbelievable human being. He let me just give you briefly. Maury Price. He was born in Poland. World War II broke out. His family was put in Dachau and Auschwitz. Him included.
Oh my gosh!
He lost his parents.
No kidding.
His parents and a brother and sister in the concentration camps. He got out. He and a family member got out, got to the United States, and he created an unbelievable life, including joining the U.S. military and going back to serve in Germany.
God.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
This is incredible. So he would have been four, maybe 6 years old when his parents were being held in Dachau.
Yeah, he was too. He was in the concentration camp as well. He lost a brother
and I'm saying
sister,
he would have been
and he was
like four-ish.
Exactly. He was a young person.
Oh my!
Anyway,
gosh.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to honor
what a life,
Maury Price. What an unbelievable example. The Stoics say, waste no more time talking about what a good man is. Be one, and that is Maury Price.
Look at you dropping.
I know that
great lines too.
That just came to me too.
Oh, really?
How about
Hey,
that?
look, man, I'm all for it. When you got people like that who have a much more significant life story than you could ever imagine, that is.
So is this a
incredible.
neighbor?
Yeah.
Does he have a bio somewhere? I'd love to read his bio.
You know what he did for the last several years of his life is he volunteered at the Museum of Tolerance in L.A. and he would tell his story of the growing up in Poland and being in the camps and World War II, and it was fascinating. So yes, there is all of this documented.
I'd love to read that too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So as Utah prepares to open up conference play, they hit the road to Stillwater, Oklahoma State. That place is going to be popping.
Yeah.
It's Hans. You were there last year. I mean, set the scene. How loud and obnoxious is this place going to be?
It's going to be crazy, and they do a great job with tailgating. And I don't know if you guys have seen the fans' social media presence, but it has been spectacular. Frank, did you happen to see the retweet that I sent out? It was actually a quote tweet of an Oklahoma State fan that did some editing on Kyle Whittingham's legs and, and said Kyle Whittingham skips legs days, and it is the funniest picture and the most it is the most gentle insult, the most harmless insult that you could throw at somebody, but one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
But don't you think that's going to annoy Kyle more than any other trash talk that could come his way?
That's what made it so great, Scott.
Yeah, because you know that might be the one that gets under his skin.
I don't even think they know that will get under his skin. And they've been doing this whole thing of who wins in a cage, Mike Gundy or Kyle Whittingham. And they're like, oh, Gundy. Gundy could do it with the arm tied behind his back. And they keep releasing all of these shirtless photos of Mike Gundy. You got to see it, dude. These fans have been hilarious. And I can't believe how much Mike Gundy walks around without a shirt on. There's so many pictures of him out there without a shirt on.
Bro, you're not Matthew McConaughey, dude. Put the shirt back on.
Oh, how about Matthew McConaughey on the sideline? Did you see that whole clip? What a banana.
Yeah, he looks terrible.
Awful. Anyway.
A what?
Yeah, crazy. He's a banana. He's nuts. All those things mean the same thing. He's bananas.
Oh, okay.
You've never heard of
You
this?
said he is a banana.
Well, yeah, he's a banana.
Yeah.
He's bananas. Like I'm saying the same thing.
All right.
It all means the same thing. By the way,
Scotty's point,
if those were actual Kyle Whittingham legs, they would crumble under the weight of his massive humanity. Look at him.
I know all of his bicep and shoulder. But to Scotty's point, it is going to be an electric environment, and what I'm excited about is Utah's played in it. They played it in Autzen. They played in it because I played in that Washington Stadium, so I know that those Husky fans are nuts. This isn't something they haven't seen. It's just something that they're probably more used to with Rice Eccles and some of the bigger games in the Pac-12, so I think it's going to be electrifying for them.
Well, and that's the thing. I mentioned this, I don't know, was it to Steve Bartle? And he's like, well, yeah, they play Washington. I'm like, I get all that, but here's the thing. In the Big 12, there's no weeks off on that. Like, there's no trip to Cal where you have 5,000 people in the stands. Like, like you're going to get this every single road trip in the Big 12, wherever you go, whether it's Lubbock, whether it's Ames, whether it's Stillwater, Central Florida's got it rocking now. Like, everywhere you go, you're going to run into this kind of atmosphere now. And I think that's one of the cool things about this conference.
I think even Sun Devil Stadium, because I know they're at Arizona State, I think even Sun Devil Stadium, by the time they get there, should come around, because Arizona State is really starting to pop. And I think they're actually a pretty dang good football team, believe it or not. Maybe they get some breathing room at Houston. That's a place I don't know much about. Do you guys know anything about Houston?
It was rocking when they were good. I don't know now that they've fallen off if it's miserable now. I'm not sure what that fan base is like. I called a basketball game there, and it was as loud as anything I've ever been to in basketball.
But Colorado and Orlando are going to be insane.
Yeah.
They're going to be absolute incredible environments. But this will be the best environment, and this will be the best team, and this is going to be the stiffest challenge. But, one thing I wanted to throw at you guys, and just in doing some Oklahoma State film work, their defense is not good, man. It is just not good. They give up so many different things, and I don't know if they're trying to play soft D. I don't know if they're like, well, we're not worried about yardages, we're not worried about giving up first downs, but their third down defense, it might be one of the worst in the country. They cannot get stops. Well, their passing defense is horrendous, and I think that this is a defense that, even if Oklahoma State does put 32 points on the board on you in Stillwater, I think this is a defense that Utah could score 34 on.
Well, they're only giving up. So I hear you about the defense, and the numbers will tell the same story. Like, Oklahoma State last in the conference total defense. They're giving up 462 yards per game. But scoring defense, they're still only giving up, just over 20 points a game. And if Cam Rising is playing quarterback, then I think Utah fans probably have a different level of confidence in being able to overcome that and being able to exploit a defense that's given up lots of yards on the season already.
Because when we've seen Cam Rising and this Utah offense on the field together, they have been absolutely dynamic. I mean, now granted, it was Southern Utah, and it was the first
Baylor
and first half or quarter and a half of Baylor, but they were unstoppable on offense. And then things change a bit when Cam Rising goes out. But if Cam Rising comes back in hands, there's no reason why this Utah offense shouldn't be clicking right up and down the field.
Well, I'll go just one step further, and I know Taylor Green is no slouch. I know he's considered a pretty darn good quarterback, but when Taylor Green can go out there and throw whatever it was, 400. Let me pull up his numbers. It was over 400 yards. All right, Taylor Green threw for 420 yards and a touchdown against this Oklahoma State defense. His other games, he threw for 161 against Alabama Birmingham, and he threw for 220 against UAPB, an FCS school. And he goes for 416. He goes 26 of 45 for 416 with a 138 rating. And that's what Arkansas is able to do. I'll go one step further, and I'll say Isaac Wilson will still put up 30 points, or should still put up 30 points against Oklahoma State. Now, I'm saying Cam Rising should give you 34, 38 or more. But I even think Isaac Wilson, with the tools that are around him, if he's using his tight ends the right way and he's delivering, I still think he can put up 30 against Oklahoma State.
The tight end room, especially. Oklahoma State giving up 300 yards a game in pass defense. That's last in the conference. Slightly better on the rush side. They're ninth in the conference, giving up 157-plus yards per game in the rushing game. So the numbers don't lie. I mean, they're telling the same story that you're telling, Hans. But Does that, I mean, all of that lack of productivity on defense, how are they holding teams to 20 points? Does that make sense?
Well, it's the teams that they played. I don't know. I don't know if Tulsa's really good at finishing, and I don't know a ton about South Dakota State. Is it? I think they played South Dakota
State. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think South Dakota's a finisher. I don't think Tulsa's a finisher. But when you got the tight ends that you've got, Frank, you better be finishing every time in the red zone. And Scotty and I were laughing because Kyle Whittingham is on the half-yard line and he kicks a field goal against Utah State. And that drive was as punishing as it could have been.
Yeah.
And you probably could have just pushed through with a QB sneak, but he kicks the field goal. I look at a team with tight ends like that. For instance, that play, that Isaac Wilson throw, and I was actually going to ask you about this, Frank. Mm-hmm. It was the touchdown to Carson
Ryan when he had 2 levels. He could have thrown to 2 levels on that, by the way.
And he almost overthrew him, though.
And he almost overthrew.
He did. It was, and that's a tough pass because he's throwing from shade to sun, and he's throwing off the snap. He's throwing left, turning right, which is best. He's a right-hander, right? Mm-hmm. So that should be his better throw, but still he puts it where Ryan can get it. That's what you need. Like that type of play will finish against Oklahoma State, where I don't know Tulsa and South Dakota's finishing power, but I don't know what Arkansas's red zone rate was, but Utah is very capable of finishing in the red zone.
I would guess the talent Utah has available on the offensive side, especially in the tight end room, would give them some sort of advantage down near the goal line if they find themselves in that situation. And by the way, what about Singer? What about Money Parks? These guys have shown glimpses of productivity, and maybe they just haven't been given enough options to be productive. So. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, I'm just saying that with all of the lack of efficiency on the defensive side, they have had this way of keeping teams out of the end zone and only allowing 20 points a game.
Take a quick break, come back. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I think BYU is better this year than they were last year.
Yeah, the hard part about that goes back to something that you say a lot, which I think is important to live by and recognize, which is what do people care about at the end of the season? They don't care if you got better. They care about what your record is. Is your record 6 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins, or 5 wins? No one says, well, it's 5 wins, but it was a better 5 wins than your previous 5-win season. Nobody cares.
No.
You had 5 wins last year. The year before that, you had 8. So 2 years ago, the team was better. Were they? I mean, yes, they probably were. But what we actually think about is win totals. And when you go back, we don't really care about nuance all that much. So the question for BYU then becomes, going into the season,
I think there are more than 3 wins left on this schedule for BYU. The way we're sitting right now, and that's Retzlaff looks at least functional, and the defense looks really good.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Cougars open up conference play with a battle against Kansas State in Provo. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, I think we're doing okay. I mean, everyone in the country's got issues to one extent or another in that area, but I think where we are 3 games in relative to last year, we're in really good shape.
What?
Relatively healthy.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Quarterback is out again.
Well, it isn't quite the mash unit we saw last year.
Well, relative to last year, yes. That was ridiculous. Hans has a list. I don't know if if he taped it to the side of his Corolla for his trip to Jerome. Maybe he has it available. But he had a list of all the people who missed time with injury last year.
Yes.
It probably takes up the whole passenger side window.
Yep.
Doesn't it?
Well, that window's been knocked out for a while, so that's actually what he's using to enclose that window.
I meant the rear. Yeah. Oh, so that's what duct tape and the list of players
Yeah.
who didn't play last year due to injury.
Do you want me to go through it?
Try to keep the road noise down, but yes.
Okay, this is just off the side of the Corolla. I'm reading. I've actually etched it into the Corolla with a nail. These are the season enders. Lander Barton, Mekhi Bernard, Chris Curry, Logan Fano, Brant Keithy, Cam Rising, Thomas Yasmin. Now, Mekhi Bernard ended up coming back and he played in the bowl game, but essentially it was a season ender. Missed time, you had Johnny Maya, you had Connor O'Toole, Samote Pepa, Karenni Reed, Smith Snowden, Junior Tafuna, Van Fillinger, and by the way, I'm only going through the contributors that missed time or lost the season because of injury. But that's a crazy list, guys.
Did you say O'Toole?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did he? I thought I missed him against Utah State. Did he go out?
He left, yes, in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, he started, and he played, and then
and then he didn't play.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we concerned about this?
I would be a little concerned, yes.
I would be concerned if there wasn't so much depth at the end, but if you're going to lose a position or you've got to play a second or third string, I think they would have more than if it was a linebacker situation. Like, I'm more worried about Karenni Reed missing than I would be Connor O'Toole, but neither one are going to. Both of them are going to really hurt against Oklahoma State, but I also know Van Fillinger, he kind of limped off in one of the final plays. In fact, it might have been the final offensive play for Utah State. He got pile drive pretty good into the ground, and I know that he was coming up a little bit sore, but I haven't heard a thing. I'm sure he's okay. Do you know anything on Connor O'Toole, or have you guys heard anything on Connor O'Toole?
The only thing I've heard is when we talked to Steve Bartle about it yesterday, he said, yes, there's some concern there, and it's been pretty quiet, but feels like optimistically that it won't be, if he does miss a game, it'll be a game, but I don't think it's a long-term thing at all.
Do you think the conference and the coaches have some obligation to be more forthright on the?
Oh, this is a great question.
On the injury report,
because in the Big Ten, you have to have an injury report.
Yeah, and it has to be legit.
Yeah, legit. You can't fool around with it. And every conference is going to have to do it here pretty soon. And you know why? It's because they're all getting in bed with the gamblers.
Well, you can bet on everything.
Yeah. So if people like DraftKings and these companies, they're like, okay, yes, we will sponsor you, we will give you our advertising dollars, but you're going to have to do this, and we need injury reports.
Yeah. Yeah, because the prospect of Cam Rising starting or not starting, that's super meaningful. We did have the situation 2 years ago now when Cam just practiced all week. It looked like he was starting. He went to warm up, and then 5 minutes prior, he told the coach, "I'm not playing." So there is that, and you can't necessarily avoid that situation for gamblers. But yeah, I mean, the issue is there is a lot of money on the line, and when that comes into play, things like injury reports become significantly more meaningful, and all within the rules. Coach Whittingham has been able to say or not say just enough.
Yeah, it's well within his right,
Absolutely.
And frankly, as much as it annoys me as a broadcaster and as a sports radio guy, if I were Kyle Whittingham, I'd do the same thing.
Right. Yeah, that's what the rules allow at the moment. But I just can't imagine, Hans, that it's going to stay that way.
No, they're going to have to do something that'll be a little bit more scripted. Yeah. I got to imagine Mark's going to get some pressure to do that. And I wouldn't mind it. I would like it. I would just take it out of everybody's hands so they don't have to use it as a game. I got to imagine that there would be some comfort in that with the coaches too, because you're putting gag orders on everybody. Like if Cam Rising is potentially out of this game, can you imagine the gag order that's come down?
Oh, yeah.
Because there is zero smoke. There is zero noise.
Nothing.
I mean, nobody is talking.
Nobody's talking.
Because everybody lives in fear of what Kyle Whittingham would do if he found out that somebody leaked. And that's fine. I mean, it's always been impossible to get any information out of Utah. And I know people. I mean, I know people there. And it's always tough. But this one, there's not a squeak or a peep. That's why I'm still putting it a high percentage chance that Cam Rising is ready to go.
Just because there has been no smoke whatsoever on Cam. Outside of this Vegas line.
That's an enormous shift.
I just don't.
Enormous what?
And
shift.
Coach.
Okay.
Yeah. And Coach Prime and his prayers, but outside of that, there's nothing.
But P.S. Can we leave Coach Prime alone? Like, I mean, he innocently believed some guy trolling him. He sent out a nice, thoughtful message to Cam Rising, and he is getting murdered over that.
I think he's getting murdered for a lot of other things.
And maybe the other things, Lloyd, maybe the other things are more meaningful, but the tweet that he sent supporting Cam Rising, I think we should just say, like, well, how thoughtful of Coach Prime. I don't know. I don't think we should take it into, well, how could he get trolled? How could he not understand that wasn't a thing? How could he not do this? How could he just sent out a nice, supportive, thoughtful tweet
that ended with him hashtagging himself, Coach Prime.
But that's not. He always hashtags himself in every tweet. He always ends his tweet hashtagging himself.
I want all your tweets right now. I want you to tag him at the end. Hashtag human detour. Or whatever hashtag you want.
You want me to do that from now on?
Yes. Like when you send out a tweet, hashtag yourself.
Okay. I can do that.
Or when you take us down a detour, you can just say hashtag human detour.
Hashtag human detour. I've been counting. I've taken stats, and the percentage is down to 73% this year over last year.
Yeah, your efficiency rate has gone up considerably.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's been impressive. Yes.
Fewer detours. I don't know if people like it, but you guys told me that. You guys told me not to do it.
But Hans, when you look at Utah's momentum coming into this game, you mentioned this is a defense that's only given up 20 points a game. However, they came into that Utah State game only giving up 12 points on the season, and Utah State had 14 at the end of the first quarter, 21, and should have had a lot more with 2 missed field goals and 2 interceptions inside the red zone.
I just in terms of Utah's defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what
I'm just saying, is there cause for concern after that Utah State game?
I have very little concern. I actually just came out of that feeling better about Utah State's offense than I did feeling like Utah's defense is going to have any type of real problems. Now,
really?
Frank, if things start to pile up, like if it is Connor O'Toole and Carini Reed's out and things start to pile up, you've already lost one of your corners, so you've worked into some of your corner depth now. If they start to pile up, then I'll start to worry a little bit. But right now, I think Morgan Scalley and I think this Utah defense knew what they needed to do into the second half of that game against Utah State. But I think Utah State's got personnel.
I think they've got a really good offense at Utah State. They've got really good weapons. They've got an elite running back, excellent batch of wide receivers, and they came in and I think Utah caught a little flat-footed there in the first quarter. And then when they rebounded and they took the lead, and then they put the clamps down in the fourth quarter, and it was kind of fun texting you and you and I were texting earlier today, and I knew what point of the game you were in. We're like, oh, Utah's really leaning on him, because there was that moment in the game where Utah was like, okay, we're Utah, you're Utah State, and we're just going to finish this game. And they did, because they've got the depth and the physicality to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there were moments, too, where it was like, we need to get pressure. Mm-hmm. And they did. They can still manufacture. They can still produce pressure when they need it.
But you don't want to get into that set. Like, you don't want to get into a mindset of, hey, we can turn it on whenever we need to, because, against some of these teams you're going to start playing, like Oklahoma State's pretty proficient on the offensive side. you could get down by a few scores, and then that becomes a significantly more difficult task, even if you shut them down the rest of the way. So I think that's part of the concern, is that you didn't approach that game. And by the way, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but it didn't feel like Utah approached that game with a high sense of urgency on the defensive side. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a pretty talented running back starts running around, and you're giving up some chunk plays on the defensive side, and then you really have to turn things around rather than being dialed in the beginning.
That's the thing I have to take into consideration. Just in watching the video, I say that there's talent from Utah State. I think that they've got some real speed. I think Faison
he's fantastic,
laser focused, and he was committed to getting the extra yards.
By the way, that dude,
there were some missed tackles.
Do you know that guy did not miss a single snap offensively? He played wire to wire.
No.
They did not replace him that entire game.
That's impressive. That is so impressive, and I'm proud of that kid. But I still feel like when Utah needs to stop on third down, I still feel like they've got the scheme and they got the personnel and they got the dogs that can do it.
Yeah, they definitely have the scheme. I happened to run into someone close to the Utah football program earlier this week, and I just said, hey, the coach in waiting got a surprise last week against Utah State. It didn't look like the defensive unit was ready to go. And I was assured that Coach Morgan Scalley was notching it up to a different level this week after the performance last week. So I have to believe internally there was some concern about the way the team approached that football game, and that there's a likelihood we'll see a different sense of urgency
1,000% agree with you
out
on
of this Utah team.
Yes.
By the way, not to get off on a completely different tangent, and this isn't.
This is going to hurt your efficiency rate.
No, you think – listen, hashtag the human detour. Look, this – may feel like it's going to hurt my efficiency rate, but when we finish it all up, you're going to say you're 100%.
Okay. Let's see you bring it back around.
Okay. Who in the SEC is currently the leading rusher with 397 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns?
Would it be a former Utah running back? Is it Mississippi State? Arkansas, you're right.
Mm-hmm. The one and only, Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, Utah could use a guy like that in the backfield.
Was that strictly just a money thing, Hans? I mean,
8 yards a carry.
Was it?
He got paid.
4 yards a carry. Yeah.
But here's the thing: Utah's got money. I mean,
yes.
Is that just a different level?
They don't have SEC money, and okay, so if you have a chunk of money and you're gonna spend the money on. You just don't have the unlimited resources. Yes. And so the resources go to Cam Rising. That doesn't leave, then you have Brant Keithy, then you have Barton, then you have Reed, then you have, you're going down the list.
There's a lot of hungry mouths out there.
Yeah, and you have Jaquindon Jackson, who I always thought he was going to be the guy, but significant injury issues, just couldn't stay healthy for Utah. And I hope the best for that guy. Like, he's a supreme talent. But just interesting where he is right now. By the way, he is coming off of injury. He has been cleared to play this week against Auburn. So maybe the injury bug is still there.
By the way, efficiency route, fully 100% up.
Thank you. Yeah.
So one area I wanted to go into really quick with both of you is, and staying with the defensive vein on Utah, what are you planning for right now? And I'll throw this at you guys, because Alan Bowman right now is the number 6 quarterback in the country per yardage. He's at 1,000 yards, throwing 67% completions. He's thrown 8 touchdowns. He's got multiple targets he can deliver. And so we've seen it. We know that Alan Bowman is a passing threat. But we also know that they've got the best running back in the country that has not ignited yet. He has not had that game. I mean, in fact, they're at the bottom of the barrel in the country. They're 105th in rushing yards per game at 112 per game. Now, they get in the red zone and they'll hand it off and do work in the run game, but they just don't show the rush. So, Frank, if you're game planning and you're Utah's defense, are you taking Bowman away and the passing game, or are you still 100% focused on making sure Ollie Gordon doesn't get going on?
Yes, no doubt. It's the DNA of Utah. And not only is it the DNA of Utah, over Kyle Whittingham's tenure at Utah, I don't know if I can think of a time when they have taken away the run game, maybe once against Oregon. I don't even know if that was under Coach Whittingham, though, where they've significantly damaged the opponent's run game and came out on the wrong side of it. I'm sure there's examples, but under his regime, taking away the run game, making the offense, the opponent's offense, one-dimensional in the pass game, and then taking that away has been the blueprint for success. I don't see any reason to go away from that.
I would, and by the way, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I do not want Ollie Gordon to get going nuts in this game, and this cannot be his breakout game. It just can't be. If you're going to lose, say Bowman, and your geriatric rear end, you're going to be the one that's going to have to beat us, because we're not going to allow that kid to go for 175 yards.
Is that because he's 27?
Something like that, yeah.
These are the two oldest He's 2 years younger?
10 months younger than Cam Rising.
Oh, these are the two oldest.
For some reason, I thought he was older than Cam. Cam's got him?
Cam has him.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't.
So these are the two oldest quarterbacks in.
Yes. You combine their ages, and they're 49 years old.
This has to be a record.
Has to be, yeah.
The two oldest quarterback combined age for quarterbacks playing in a collegiate football contest.
Yep.
Right?
I would think so. Absolutely.
I haven't seen anything anywhere, but let's just call it a record.
Let's do it.
How much older? 10 months. Okay.
Didn't they say like their combined ages are more than C.J. Stroud and then another second-year player in the NFL by like 6 or 7 years?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, if you took even if you took like how old is Zach Wilson? Zach Wilson's probably mid-20s. Zach Wilson and C.J. Stroud, their combined ages have to be less than
I would think so, yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Well, yes. Anyway, to your point, Hans, it was a great question, and I'm just guessing that you would align with what Scotty and I are saying. But do you have a different thought on that? Like, do you think Utah should lay off the run and try and take care of the pass first, or?
Well, the reason I bring it up is because of some of the packaging that you'll have to use. You know, I think that you've got some different run-stopping opportunities, but I've got to call for Landon Barton to have a better game, and he's going to have to be on the spot. But if you're thinking, well, we're not going to let this pass, we're not going to let him dink and dunk and let these guys get breakaways and hit us with screens and use the passing game as a portion of the run game and have to put on some of the defensive packaging, I want to leave that heavy personnel on the field. Personally, I would still jam the gaps full, and I would leave the Tanavasas of the world and the Tafunas and the O'Tooles and the Vans as much as I can. I would use Logan Fano as much as I could at the edge and some stand-up with contained responsibilities and maybe some drop to zone or drop the flat coverage responsibilities, but I'm still leaving a heavier big off an edge if I can. I'm so torn on this one, Frank, because I still think Utah's got the personnel to run a press and a man-on-man. But They've got a couple of great receivers.
Mm-hmm.
This Dejon Stribling is one of your top 10 or top 15 receivers in the country. But I think with Zamaya or with Snowden or with maybe 2 or 3 other corners that you've got, you should be able to run coverages on him and impress him. But that worries me too a little bit because I don't want him to get going that way. But I'm with Scotty and you where if I do lose, it better not say 180 yards next to Ollie Gordon's name after this game.
I don't want that Oregon State debacle from 2 or 3 years ago.
And do you remember Arizona?
Yeah.
2 years in a row. They ran for almost 300 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do that. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's game week for the Utes, and the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. After a road win against Utah State, Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road for their Big 12 showdown as they square off against Oklahoma State. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Ute football. Then catch the Ute pregame show this Saturday at 1 with the postgame show immediately following the game. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Here we go. It's game week for the Aggies, and the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. It's a long road trip for the Aggies as they head back east to Philadelphia for a non-conference battle against Temple. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football. Then catch all the play-by-play action beginning with the Aggie pregame show this Saturday at 11 on 1280 The Zone with a postgame show immediately following the game. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's your Ute Preview Show, getting you ready for Utah and Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Place is going to be loud. It'll be nasty. 2 really good teams going toe-to-toe. And Hans, it kind of feels like this game, whoever wins this game is going to have the inside track to really having a leg up in this conference race.
Yeah, because once Utah gets past this Oklahoma State team, it really lightens up for them. And, at first thought, it lightens up. But this is actually kind of interesting. So I've been talking about the 7 Big 12 quarterbacks that occupy the top 20 of the nation's yardage leaders. There are 4 quarterbacks right now in the Big 12 through 3 games that have 1,000 yards. Josh Hoover, Shedeur Sanders, Baron Morton with Texas Tech, and Alan Bowman, who you're about to see with Oklahoma State. Then the other 3 that make up the 7 that fill in the top 20 is Brendan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, Noah Fifita with Arizona, and then Jake Retzlaff, who's thrown for 850 yards. Well, Utah now plays 5 of those 7 quarterbacks. BYU only plays 2 of them. They play Alan Bowman and Noah Fifita. Now, so Utah's going to see the bulk of the good quarterbacks. Now, it's the flip reverse for the running back situation because they've got 6 running backs that occupy the top 20 in the country, and Utah will only see 2 of them. R.J. Harvey with Central Florida, who leads the Big 12 at 450 yards, and Cam Scadaboo, who is second in the Big 12 at 373 yards. They don't see Devin Neal at Kansas, Corey Kiner at Cincy, DJ Giddens at Kansas with Kansas State, or, of course, Mekhi Bernard is the one that rounds off that group of running backs. BYU faces all of them but one, and that's Cincinnati's Corey Kiner. But they see Mekhi Bernard, they see DJ Giddens, they see Devin Neal, they see Cam Scadaboo, and they see R.J. Harvey. Yeah. So I just think it's we talked about, well, Utah's schedule is very beneficial. Well, we're starting to see TCU might be a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't know what Shedeur Sanders is going to be. Who knows? Noah Fifita is going to be all kinds of ticked off by the time Utah sees him. And then, of course, the rivalry game, you always got to throw that up in the air because Jake Retzlaff's had some really good games. So
throw the records out the window.
Throw it out the window, man.
Throw it out the window.
I don't know, Frank. I mean, we're seeing some really good quarterback play out of the Big 12.
Yeah, I think the way that you broke that down, which is why even though a lot of people say, can Hans Olsen really be objective as the color announcer for BYU?
Only you've said that.
People generally say, can Hans Olsen be objective because he's the color commentator for BYU broadcast? I defend you because I think you can be. And when you say things like that, then it demonstrates your objectivity. And I actually think that lines up a little better for Utah because Utah always wants to take away the run game and make teams one-dimensional. And then you're saying that Utah's only facing 2 of the top running backs currently in the backpack or in the Big 12. Like, that lines up for that scheme perfectly. Like,
although you talk about the 2 top, you still have Ollie Gordon, who I think is still the best.
But he's
not.
But his numbers don't.
But his numbers don't represent
demonstrate
that, right
because teams are
taking him out,
loading up the box to take him away. And so I suspect that Utah will do the same this weekend. You know, with that in mind, I'd like to ask both of you this question. What does a Utah win look like to you statistically? So if you look at the play sheet after the game, if you look at the box score after the game, what does it look like to you in a Utah victory?
Is Cam playing?
Let's do it both ways. Let's say Cam playing and Cam not playing.
Cam not playing, Utah has over 220 yards rushing.
Whoa! Seriously?
Because I think they have to.
It's very doable.
220
and it's very doable.
yards rushing.
Against this defense, I think that's doable.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's very doable.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Cam's playing, I don't think they have to hit that number because Cam can dish the football a little bit better. And so I think either way, you're looking at Utah plus 30 points in this game. I think Utah scores 30, and I think they win by 31-21, 31-24, around there.
With Cam.
With Cam, or without Cam.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I think a winning box score looks like this. Oklahoma State, 130 yards or under rushing. 130, 140 yards or under rushing. 280 yards or under passing. I think they're going to keep Oklahoma State to about 24 points. And let's just go Isaac Wilson at 230 yards passing. The rushing game at 190 to 210. And Utah putting up 32 points.
Mm-hmm.
So
32.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm kind of describing how I see it. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the Utah Preview Show, whether it's Isaac Wilson or Cam Rising, those are the points or the approximate points I'm expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I think my line is similar to that on the offensive side. Quarterback. I'm just going to say quarterback, okay? I'm going to say quarterback. 250 yards plus passing.
For either one of them.
For either one. So passing game has to be 250 yards plus. Okay. No turnovers. 200 yards rushing for Utah. So I completely agree with that. That's the offensive side. That should be enough to get, in the 30-point range in that game. On the other side, I think Utah has to hold Oklahoma State to 100 yards or under rushing. Like, I think they have to be that stingy on the defensive side, giving up rushing yardage, and then hold the passing game in the 250-ish yard range. So I'm talking about like a 350-yard total offense for Oklahoma State. That's the type of defensive effort I think needs to be applied. Now, the difference I will say in this game is if that line applies as is with Cam Rising playing. If Isaac Wilson is playing, then I would also say Utah has to come up with 2 turnovers on the defensive side.
And I don't think that's out of bounds.
Unreasonable?
No, I don't think so. By the way, Can we talk about that Smith-Snowden interception real quick?
The Smith-Snowden interception?
How great was that?
Well,
that was really incredibly an athletic play of ripping that thing away, because I thought that was a touchdown.
And it was terrible for announcers because
I screwed it up.
You couldn't see it.
Yep.
Nobody could see it until the replay, and then Snowden rolls over and he has the ball. That was unbelievable. It was a terrific play.
Well, a couple of things about that play. Number one, if he doesn't pick that, it's a touchdown.
Yep.
And that sets the standard. Now, Utah State already come out and set the standard, but instead that ends up being a turnover, and it's a big momentum grab for Utah and prevented 7 more points from being on the board. So I think all considered, I think it was the play of the game in that moment to be able to rip that ball out. And then I'm going to say this, not in defense of Bryson Barnes, but that second pick by Cameron Calhoun was just an incredibly athletic leap. I mean, he was 3 feet in the air, perfectly timed and high-pointed, that interception. Otherwise, that drops in the hand of a Utah State wide receiver. He was open. The bracket over the top of him had some distance, and it would have hit the mark, and that would have put them at like the 15 or the 20, but definitely in scoring range. So those 2 interceptions were like out of this world athletic and incredible and game-changing and more needed than you would have thought Utah turnovers would have been needed in that game.
Yeah.
So they're just critical, but Smith set the tone with his pick.
Take one final break. We'll wrap this thing up, get you ready for JJ and Alex, get some final thoughts from Frank and Hans as we get you ready for Utah and Oklahoma State right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs! Cheap bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? The Aggies head east to Philadelphia for a big non-conference battle against Tempo. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, wrapping up another edition of your Ute Preview Show right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Big thanks to everyone who helped us out with the show today. This was a fun one, Frank. And by the way, just a quick reminder, your life moves fast. Quantum Fiber Internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today, quantumfiber.com. That's quantumfiber.com. All right, Frank, final thoughts. You feel comfortable about this one? You feel confident in this one?
I don't like to be fair, I don't like the injuries going into this one. I don't like the thought of Corinne Reed being out. I don't like the thought of going into hostile territory without Cam Rising available, or even if Cam Rising has a question in his mind of whether or not he's available. Like that, it feels like he needs to be completely dialed in to perform at his best. So all of that said, optimistically, I'm going to say Utah has a defense that can manage the loss of Corinne Reed for a game against this Oklahoma State offense. They do have to go into hostile territory. That's always challenging, learning how to play on the road early in the season in a big game like this, Big 12 opener. I would still like to see the evolution of the offensive line and run game and get that thing solidified coming out of this weekend.
Give me the Frank Dolce predictometer percentage of Cam Rising playing on Saturday.
50.
Wow.
Dang.
That doesn't sound good.
Have you talked to somebody, Frank?
I talk to people all the time.
So there you go. Breaking news. Frank Dolce reporting.
That's not true. You can't say that's Frank Dolce reporting. That's a guess. That's my best. That's a guess. Because of the lack of news and because Las Vegas miraculously went 5 points. There's a 5-point swing in Vegas.
Yeah.
And those guys always know something.
Yeah.
There's a reason they build those enormous casinos.
They only tear down a casino to build a bigger one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I'm going to put a number on it, too. And I'm going to go 75%.
Yeah, I'm going to go 80.
That he plays?
That he plays.
Yeah. It just I could see even gamesmanship of we don't know, and maybe there is some problems. Either way, Oklahoma State's going to have to prepare for both. Either way, I think Utah comes away with a win.
Yeah.
I think they win with Isaac Wilson, and I think they win with Cam Rising. I think Isaac is kind of settling into the saddle a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't have any trust. I don't have any faith in Oklahoma State's defense. They're just they haven't shown me anything that shocks me. They've played bad teams and given up a lot of yardage.
Okay, well let's let this lead our prediction of Utah versus Oklahoma State, because we just mentioned at the beginning, but now we're going to really get down to it. Okay,
we got to wrap up.
Kyle Whittingham, Mike Gundy cage match. Who comes out alive?
Kyle, and it's not even close.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hands?
Is Gundy drunk?
Yes.
Does it matter?
Well, I mean, look, he's done it 1,000 times driving drunk, so, you know.
Well, he's a man. He's 40.
Yeah, if he's not feeling the pain, it might be one of those things where you're just superhuman because you're not feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So, okay, Scotty, Coach Whittingham, Frank, Coach Whittingham, Hands, Coach Gundy. That's 2-1.
If he's liquored up.
And so
Come
Utah
after
comes
me.
out.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm 40. Never gets old. Hands and Scotty, JJ and Alex next. This is The Zone.